Pure Sky Striker has more non-engine than engine card in its main deck. Consider opening Ray and 4 non-engine, your opponent will never be able to play. Starting off with the main deck, I have 3 copies of Sky Striker Ace Ray. You also play Rose in this deck, 3 copies of Engage, 3 copies of Linkage, I have 2 copies of Lemnis Gate, then I have 2 copies of Widow Anchor, then I have 1 copy of Shark Cannon, 1 copy of Multi-Roll, and 1 copy of Hornet Drones, reinforcement of the army. I have 3 copies of Mulcharmy Fuvalos, 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, then I have 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, Infinite Impermanence, 3 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust, 1 Talents, 1 Crossout, and 1 Call by the Grave, 3 copies of Goods, and this is also a board breaker thanks to Blackout Laughs. As we have previously discussed on this channel, Blackout Laugh is a very powerful card, but that's it for the main deck. For my extra deck, I have 2 copies of Kagari, 1 Shizuku, 1 Hayate, and 1 Kaina, 1 copy of Seek, 1 Azalea, 2 copies of Zero, 1 SP Little Knight, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer, 1 Azalea Temperance, 1 Access Code Talker, 1 Baguska, and 1 Typhon. That is it for the extra deck. For the side deck, I have 3 copies of Mulcharmy Meows, 1 Hamp, 1 Duster, 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Afterburners, 3 copies of Heatwave, 1 Gnomes, and 1 D-Barrier for my Thrust, and 3 copies of Dominus Impulse. So say open with Ray, I would use her effect to tag out, summon Zero in my extra monster zone. On summon, Zero gets to add me my Engage, which I then activate, and grab either Widow Anchor or Shark Cannon. You set the one you searched, and in your opponent's turn, you can activate the Widow Anchor, you can tag out the Zero to summon Ray and Rose. In the opponent's turn, this Ray can then tag out to summon a Kagari. Kagari can then add you back your Engage, so for the next turn you have quite a lot of different plays. You have 2 Link Bodies, you have Engage with already a spell in the graveyard. So whilst the 1 card Ray combo is not the most impressive, it's at least quite good follow-up and 2 forms of interaction, as opposed to the old school Shizuku pass that you did back in the day. If you open with Engage, you can activate the Engage, add Ray, normal summon the Ray, link summon Ray for Kagari, add back the Engage and activate it. As before, you can add Widow Anchor or Shark Cannon, but you can also add Lemnis Gate. Let me show you what happens if you add a Lemnis Gate. Then you link the Kagari off into a Shizuku and you proceed to the end phase. Here you activate Shizuku's effect, grabbing you Linkage, which you immediately activate. You send Shizuku to the graveyard, and you summon Zero. On summon, Zero adds you an Engage from your deck to your hand. And here in your opponent's turn, you can do the same thing, where you tag out the Zero, summon Ray and Rose, pop a card, and you can also activate the Lemnis Gate by shuffling back some links and spells to bounce cards on their field back to the hand. So you can clearly see that if you open with like a Widow Anchor or a Shark Cannon, in addition to your Engage with this hand, you could have activated this card before you tributed the Zero. Then you have 3 spells in grave and 3 links. You can put back 6 with Lemnis Gate and bounce 2 cards. Next I'm going to show some 2 card combinations. So, if you open with Engage, a bunch of non-engine, and any of these cards, let's take the Widow Anchor as an example. Here you have enough disruptions to where you don't really need to add multiple Lemnis Gates, Widow Anchors and whatnot, because you have a lot of disruptions already. So a better play with this hand might be to play for follow-up. So here I would activate Engage, grab Ray, normal summon Ray, link Ray off into Kagari, Kagari effect, add back the Engage, play Engage, and here's where if you open the multi-roll comes up, because you're going to search the multi-roll here. So if you open it with multi-roll, you could add any other Sky Striker spell you'd like. Here you link into Shizuku, here you activate the multi-roll, and you set any number of back row you would like, and you proceed to the end phase, where you activate Shizuku's effect to grab a Linkage, which you immediately activate, sending Shizuku to the grave to summon a Seek. Here you can activate Zero's effect to add a copy of Engage for your follow-up. You could use multi-roll to set the Linkage to your back row, or you can keep it, because you're probably not going to activate this card in their turn anyway. Now, you can also do this if you open a bunch of non-engine with the Engage and no other striker cards. As we have the Widow Anchor face down here, we could just have added the Widow Anchor off of Zero, activated it to negate our Zero, and then set it with multi-roll. However, this play does burn a bit more of your resources because the Widow Anchor will be banished, and should they have a way to clear the multi-roll, you're just gonna lose this card for no reason. But you could argue if you opened 4 non-engine cards, you might have enough disruption anyway to prevent them from threatening your multi-roll and your follow-up. But of course, it depends on what your hand is and what deck you're playing against. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the interaction with Linkage and Heatwave. So Heatwave says, at the start of your main phase 1, you can activate this card and neither player can summon until the end of your opponent's next turn. However, if you activate this card, you can chain Linkage. So chaining 2 Linkage will resolve, sending Heatwave to the graveyard to summon a 0. Now, Chain Link 1 resolves, being Heatwave. Neither player can summon monsters, but you already summoned the Seek. You could also summon Shizuku here. Both of these cards will get you an engage, so it doesn't really matter which one you go for. The 0 can be tagged out in your next turn, or the Shizuku can be linked off into a Kagari, which would recycle the engage that you add in the end phase with Shizuku. Let's just say we summoned the Shizuku, and we went to end phase, and we grabbed an engage. Now our opponent will pass back. They can't summon, so what are they gonna do? Here you can link the Shizuku off into Hayate, poke, and send a spell. Which one depends a bit on the situation, but let's say you sent down a Shark Cannon so you can set it back with multi-roll. Then you activate engage, grab multi-roll, draw a card, you link Kagari to grab back the multi-roll, you play multi-roll and engage, and you get to search and draw another card. And then you can do something like set linkage, and then linkage can summon 0 on the opponent's turn, which you can tag out into Ray and Rose and pop a card. And it's very difficult for your opponent to come back from this, because you got to establish so much advantage off of them just skipping their first turn, and you getting free spells into the graveyard. And I think even without the linkage, the Heatwave is quite a powerful card. Forcing your opponent to pass back will give you another card to play with, granting you more resources, and there is a chance of a, well, near auto win if you open this with linkage. But yeah, the idea of Sky Striker is mainly to go second, but I just wanted to have Heatwave in my deck, so if people would like to let me start, then I have a very strong punish against that. But that's all I wanted to discuss for now.
If you enjoy my content, make sure to also subscribe to my second channel, linked in the description box down below.